They say you never really know a person just by looking at them in a crowd, and I guess that's why the whole mess started with a woman who, at first glance, seemed about as remarkable as yesterday's newspaper. I was there that morning, watching as security singled out this older lady, silver hair, pressed clothes, nothing flashy, just present, you know? Not a shuffle or a twitch, just a quiet patience, like she'd been through lines longer and storms worse than whatever was brewing in that government building. What caught my eye, though, wasn't how she looked, but the way her eyes flickered when they told her to open her bag. Not fear, not even anger, just something like a shadow crossing a well-lit room. You know what I mean? Like she'd seen a ghost only she recognized. The line stretched, coiling through the atrium, rain beating the windows so hard it sounded like a warning. People shifted from foot to foot, scrolling on phones, muttering about appointments. But not her. She stood there, hands clasped, eyes forward, every inch of her still as if she was counting her own heartbeats. That's when Officer Rustin, this guy with a chip on his shoulder and a uniform 2 sizes too small, zeroed in. "ID," he barked, palm out. She handed it over, old, frayed around the edges, expired by a decade if it was a day. He sneered. Expired, but she was ready with an official letter, government seal and all, not a tremor in her voice as she explained. He barely looked at it. The questions kept coming. "What's your business here?" "Appointment," she answered. Just that. Not a syllable more. The less she said, the more suspicious he got, waving through younger, louder people without a glance, but locking in on her like he was auditioning for a crime show. He called over another officer, Loritz, thicker in the middle, with tired eyes that had seen too many bad days. "Step aside, ma'am." She did, posture snapping straight. Automatic, I swear. For a second, she looked like she was standing at attention in some invisible formation. "Open the bag," they said. She asked, almost softly for privacy, but they weren't having it. "Nope, open it here." It was like the room leaned in at that moment, rain thrumming, fluorescent lights casting shadows that made everyone look a little guilty. Folks started to notice. A couple of young office workers, coffee cups halfway to their lips, stopped talking. Nobody moved, but you could feel the temperature drop a degree. She unzipped her old duffel just a bit. "I'd prefer privacy," she tried again. Rustin snorted, gloves snapping on like he was about to perform open-heart surgery. "Since you're being difficult, we'll do this ourselves." They started pulling out her things, laying them out like trophies, prescription pills, a framed photograph they didn't bother unwrapping, a book of poems, letters, medical papers, all under that unforgiving white light. At one point, Rustin held up a little ornate key and waggled it like he'd found Aladdin's lamp. "What's this open?" he mocked. "Something that should have stayed closed," she answered, voice flat but not flustered. Loritz found a notebook with some old military operations scribbled in it, mispronounced it so bad the crowd almost laughed, except no one was really in the mood. The crowd kept growing. Whispers rolled through, some folks filming, others shaking their heads. It started feeling wrong. Rustin, still digging, found a small box with a military pin inside, tossed it back without care until it skittered across the metal table. That was the first crack in her composure. "Please, careful," she whispered, more to herself than anyone. "Is it valuable?" Rustin sneered. "Not in money," she said, and that, for some reason, silenced the crowd for half a breath. It all built to this last compartment. He reached for it slow, milking the moment. Someone in line, a young woman, finally spoke up. "Is this really necessary?" Rustin snapped at her security protocol. "Ma'am," but the damage was done. You could feel the crowd start to shift, sympathy leaking in. The rain got louder, like a memory coming up for air. While Loritz radioed in her outdated ID, Rustin kept up the charade, pulling out an address book, commenting on how many addresses were overseas. "Most of those people are dead now," she replied, and suddenly Rustin was the only one who didn't seem to get it. When the ID came back as inconclusive, possible government employee, Rustin's eyes narrowed. "What department?" "Retired," she answered. "From what position?" "Classified." The way she said it wasn't defensive, just routine, like she'd been denying answers her whole life. And then, as if on cue, A tall man in full military dress walked in, not making a show, just heading to another checkpoint, but you could tell the room clocked him instantly. Rustin, oblivious, went for the final zipper. "Anything you want to confess before I open this?" "I simply value my privacy," she replied. "Privacy is a luxury in security," Loritz intoned. He unzipped it slowly, letting everyone lean in. Inside, a thick, deep blue military jacket, folded so precisely you knew it mattered. Rustin lifted it, smirking until he caught the weight of the patches and pins. Loritz stepped closer, squinting. "These markings, I've never seen these." Someone in the crowd said, "Those are real medals," and, the mood changed. Rustin tried to play it off, surplus store, maybe, but even he didn't buy it. She said, "Check the service number, it'll match my ID." And it did. An older man in the crowd piped up, "That patch only ever seen in photos from classified ops, 70s. Rustin told him to back off, but you could tell the room was no longer on his side. "How'd you come by this uniform?" Loritz asked, tone finally tipping respectful. "I earned it," she said. "Women weren't in combat then," Rustin blurted, but the crowd caught the drift. What's official and what's true aren't always twins, especially in war. Loritz checked public military records, but surprised nothing. "You won't find me there," she said, steady as a rock. Someone in the crowd had Googled the operation name, nothing but a redacted Cold War footnote. The room hung in silence, a sense that secrets were just beginning to leak. Then the uniform's metal slipped, clattering to the floor. She moved quick, picking it up, holding it close. "This was awarded after Operation Dresdenville. 3 of us got it. I'm the only one left." That silenced even Rustin, who now handled the jacket like it might bite. Suddenly, the tall officer, now close enough for his stars and stripes to gleam, broke through the crowd. "Is that Captain Thorne's uniform?" he said, and just like that, everything changed. He saluted her formal, perfect. Every soldier in the room knew the gesture. "Captain Thorne, it's been years." She returned the salute, no hesitation. "General Crane," she said, like they were meeting for coffee, not in the middle of a security standoff. Rustin and Loritz, pale as hospital sheets, scrambled to apologize. General Crane didn't even look at them. "Captain Thorne is here to receive the Distinguished Service Cross honor long overdue, now that her file's finally been declassified." You could feel the air crackle. The president himself would be presenting it. Folks in the crowd started clapping, some for her, some maybe just to be part of the moment. As they repacked her things, General Crane told the room, "Captain Thorne was special operations, behind lines, back when the world pretended women couldn't fight. Her skills, her courage, changed the course of the Cold War." Rustin's jaw nearly hit the floor. Thorne said nothing, just gathered her things, dignity finally matching the respect, now flowing her way. Before she left, a young security officer, Ellis, stepped up and thanked her. "Service happens where no one's watching," Thorne told her, eyes soft but unwavering. "Remember that." General Crane escorted her to the elevator, crowd parting, people whispering, some filming, but now with awe. The ceremony upstairs was as grand as they come, sunlight pouring in, rain forgotten, old comrades reunited at the front, medals pinned, tears shed, stories left untold but understood in the silence between survivors. When Thorne's name was called, she walked to the podium back straight, eyes ahead, and the president spoke not just of what she did, but of all those who did what could never be spoken until now. She accepted the medal, not for herself, but for every ghost in every photograph left in her duffel. Later, at the reception, General Crane asked how it felt. "Strange," she admitted, "to finally talk about things we were ordered to forget." Officer Ellis, out of uniform, found her still wrestling with what she'd witnessed. "How do you deal with disrespect?" she asked. Thorne answered with dignity. "Not because you always feel it, but because it keeps others from taking it." Ellis thanked her, words sticking like sunlight on wet pavement. As the sun set, Thorne gathered her things and walked out, Ellis at her side, asking about service, about meaning, about standing tall in a world that forgets the price of dignity. And behind them, that building went right on processing the next crowd, the next story, proof Maybe that you never really know who stand in front of you, not by their age, their clothes, or even their silence, but by the battles you'll never see. So, let me ask you, what would you have done if you'd been standing in that line? Where do you draw the line between security and dignity, between protocol and simple human respect? Let's hear your thoughts, because maybe that's how we figure out who the real heroes are among us.